Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon again. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm here finishing up my third training week on the Juggernaut AI new app that was released. Again, I'm running this for the iOS system. When I mentioned this last time, it wasn't available on Android. It is, however, now. And I'll try to share some screenshots as well, as I'm sure that's going to be easier than me just holding up the phone. But I'm going to give you my feedback 3 weeks in. I like it a lot. And that's coming from someone who's run, I think, every iteration of AI programming. In fact, even before it was released, I had Garrett Blevins here over in my basement, which sounds really creepy, but he was talking about it several years ago. I have lots of videos on it, but I'm giving it another go. And there's two things that I really like about this program so far, 3 weeks in. And number one, far and away the best thing is the actual just app itself. Again, the user interface on this is really friendly. And that's one of the issues I had in the past and that I have with a lot of training programs as is on spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are great. I love them. I love the formulations, entering input, seeing all the outputs that you can do. You can get really crazy and nerdy with it. But the problem is when I'm down here training and trying to access that on my phone, regardless if I have Google Docs or Sheets or whatever app you use, I find that I always get jumbled up and it's just not as easy. And I would always find myself back on my laptop at the end of the day or the end of the week, kind of making sure all the numbers are looking right. So the app makes things really easy in that regard. I also like the app because it tells you everything up front. You don't have to dig in a spreadsheet or do a pivot table or anything like that. So I know exactly from looking at this that I'm 155 days out. I know right where I am in my training cycle. So right now I'm actually in a hypertrophy block and I can see the volume, I can see the intensity, I can see how many weeks I have left before I get into my strength block and peaking block. There's also something that they offer here called the bridge or a bridge, which you might be familiar with because there's other programs called that. But what that is basically a transition into this. If you're coming off another heavy training cycle, you need the rest. We just want to acclimate yourself to the program. For me, because I was coming off that TSA program where I never really finished, I never really peaked for it necessarily, and the fact that I've been training pretty much sub-max the last couple of months, I just jumped right in, especially considering I was jumping into a hypertrophy block. But I like that a lot. You can also get really into it here. You can see things like MEV, MRV, frequency per lift, per training block. So you get all that insight. And again, the user interface here is really nice and simple to navigate and easy to find, which again, for someone like me, I like a lot. The other thing that I really like about this is that it doesn't kick your butt right up front. And again, I've run a lot of these AI programs and I'm sure you've seen some of them posted before. And most recently I've seen some where it was like, 5 sets of 10 at RPE 9 or 10. And I was just like, wow, that was awful. And even from previous experience training, I think it kind of ramped up too quick for a lot of people. And that turned a lot of people off, including myself, which is why I haven't really stuck with it in the past. But I can say 3 weeks in, things are feeling really good. In fact, I'm actually looking forward to some more work. So it's really easing me in, which I like a lot. Now, speaking of the work I'm doing, I'm sure I'll show you some clips over the last couple of days. Because I'm in a hypertrophy block, I'm not really doing comp specific movements. I'm doing all variations, which I really like a lot. But another thing with this program that you can do is, depending on when you enter into what your weak points are, like for me, week off the floor on deadlifts, so I have me doing deficit deadlifts, or week out of the hole in squats, so they have me doing pause work, tempo work, that kind of thing. You can always go in and switch the exercises if you don't actually like what there's in there, or if you don't have access to it. So like, let's say for instance, I don't want to do the deficit deadlifts. I go in there and I swap the exercise and it's going to give me a list of other things that are recommended based off my weak points. Or if I really want, I can override that completely and just do 6 bicep exercises for that particular day. And the cool thing is when you switch one of those out, it asks if it's just for the day or you want to do it the rest of the training block. So maybe you don't like a certain exercise and you want to switch it out for the rest of the block. You can do that. Maybe you're traveling, maybe you're in a commercial or public gym where you don't have access to certain equipment on that particular day. So you just want to switch it for that session. You can do all that in the app. And again, I really like it. Now with this though, I will say it was really dependent on you. So you get out what you put in, meaning you really have to be honest about what you're feeling. So you have to rate RPE, you have to rate reps in reserve. And the more time you use this app, the more it's going to kind of cater itself to you. So again, I'm still getting acclimated myself and I'm probably undershooting a lot of these numbers that I'm putting in, but in time that's gonna catch up. So I'll try to do some more updates in terms of what's good, what's bad, and what I don't like. But so far I'm really liking it. The one maybe negative that I'm seeing right now, which is a little bit my fault, is that these days are long. So the training sessions can be pretty long. So one of the things I'm doing with the sponsor of this video is I'm actually having an intra-workout meal in the form of one of these built protein bars. For this particular session that I'm showing you, I had the peanut butter flavor, which was great. It's 180 calories, but 19 grams of protein, and they use real peanut butter. And I've said it before, they have 18 different flavors, all of which have been really good so far. My favorite is still the white chocolate cookies and cream, but really macro friendly. They taste good, they're not chewy. Again, they're more of that marshmallowy type candy bar consistency, which I think is pretty good. And if you go in the description box and click the link, you can save 20% off your order. But that's what I've been snacking on between my main compounds. And I've still been doing my best to really superset a lot of these things. So like each day, for the most part, I have like a pressing movement with either a squatting or a deadlifting movement. So I'll superset those in together as best as I can. In some days, I'm squatting, benching, and deadlifting, or doing variations of which. So again, the time it takes is a little bit more for those training sessions because I'm probably doing 6 to 7 exercises overall. But going from those main compounds, it takes time to warm up and get to the working set. So I've been trying to consolidate and push myself through, which is also probably one of the reasons why I've been kind of keeping it conservative and not pushing myself to some of the higher RPEs or the higher rep work just yet. And the rep work is already pretty high because, again, I'm in a hypertrophy block. But speaking of adaptability, if you want, you can go in here and switch the rep ranges from high to medium to low. Again, right now, I'm doing more high rep work because hypertrophy, I could just wear small t-shirts like I'm doing now, but I would like to try to gain some size because I'm so far out from when my test out will be. Really try to get the most out of this hypertrophy block. And as we get closer into those strength training and peaking, you'll see a lot of these variations go to more comp specific movements and probably some of that fluff work like I'm doing right now be dropping in volume. But again, you can see all that from the app, which again, I really like. So general impressions, I like it a lot. I would recommend it even if you've tried AI in the past. Again, I've tried all the iterations. The other ones I never really stuck with, but so far I'm really liking this one 3 weeks in, which I don't know if I could necessarily say was true for some of the other options in the past. One thing I will say, I mentioned it's available for Android and Apple devices right now. It's $30 a month. I've seen some people on the Juggernaut Instagram page commenting that's way too much money. And the way that I kind of rationalize it is you're paying for basically a coach in your pocket. Meaning that the program actively adapts to what you put in. So each day when you go in for your actual training program or routine, you rate how you feel. You put in how much you weigh, how much you slept, if you ate well the previous day, are you feeling sore in any areas, are you rehabbing any injuries? And it spits out your work for that day based off of that. But that all also changes during the course of the workout. So if you're shooting for something that's an RPE 7 or 8, and you undershoot it, the back off work's probably gonna be higher. And if the back off work you're doing isn't hitting those right RPE still and they're way too easy, it's going to continue to add weight to those back offs until it gets it accurate. So it's like you have someone literally in your pocket telling you what you need to do as you're training. And you can actually go in and change how you feel for certain lifts. So if you're killing it on squats, your warm-ups feel great, your first working set feels great, go into the app and put that in and you'll end up getting more squat work for that day. So the workouts change in real time. Or if you don't feel good, it'll take work away, which is good because again, real-time adjustments to your training versus having to get with a coach at the end of the week, at the end of the training block, or at the end of a complete training cycle to reassess goals. It's not a static program that you're doing. It's always constantly changing. And again, it goes back to what I said, you get in what you put out. So the more accurate you are and the better you are at rating these things, the more accurate the program is going to be for you. So I think $30 a month is justified for me, someone who trains roughly 6 hours a week in total. So like 4 days worth of training, 6 hours a week, it's 24 hours in a month. It ends up being like $1.25 or so training session, which I think is well worth it. So 3 weeks in, like it a lot. I'll do an update in a couple more weeks after I've kind of moved on towards the end of this hypertrophy block and getting into my strength phase. But if you're interested, you can find it on the Apple or Android stores, the Google Play Store, I don't know what they're called. And if you want to check out those Built bars, again, I'll link in the description box below. We'll save you 20%. They're sponsoring this video and a couple of videos this month, so we appreciate you guys doing that. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.